All right.
Yes.
Zeel, are you sharing a screen from the phone or the desktop?
From the desktop.
Then you should put your phone on flight mode because otherwise the connection will get disrupted if somebody calls or something.
Uh, or I can just like cut the phone, right?
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's hope.
Because just now Manushi had called me
Okay,
regarding something. So I think,
it's possible that the video is on and you can cut the phone.
yeah, yeah. So my voice will be muted as it happens in Zoom call.
No problem.
Okay, so we can wait for another 2 to 3 minutes for others to join. Then we'll start. Okay, Jinal, you may begin.
Yes. A very good afternoon, everyone attending today. This is the second session of Atelier 2021. We are very pleased to connect with you all once again virtually.
Yeah, so Atelier is a series of lectures, workshops, exhibitions, walks, and much more, which has been organized by the Department of Architecture since 3 years. It is a platform for sharing knowledge, transmitting ideas among people from different spheres of the field of professional and non-professional architecture. Atelier connects the students with professionals of this field and paves the way for open discussions and learning. We have with us here today architect Pathik Joshi and architect Zeel Modi. We welcome you both.
Your limitation, it's only your imagination. Nothing is going to stop you except your imagination. So if you have a wild imagination, then nothing will stop you. But if you don't imagine, then it would be a limit for your strengths and abilities.
Okay. So before we get to the lecture, we have our head of the department here, Bhavna ma'am, who would like to share a few words.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Hello,
afternoon.
architect Pathik Joshi and architect Zeel Modi from Kalayojan Studio. I'm Bhavna Vasudev. I'm an architect urban planner. So today on behalf of Department of Architecture, I welcome both of you and greetings to all my colleagues and students. Thank you for Architect Pathik and Architect Zeel. Thank you for agreeing to talk to our students. I'm sure it will go a long way and it will be a mutually enriching experience for all of us. Very quickly, let me tell you, we are a department in one of the biggest faculty of our university. We are also one of the oldest institution of architecture in the country and produced distinguished personalities. And we have the proud alumni association, and they've contributed a lot. And we believe in building broad foundation to enable students to work and develop sensible, responsible built environment practices. Ethics and equity are the principles of justice and do not change here with the calendar. So that way we are conservative, you may say. But we always look forward to whatever best we can do or whatever best is possible for the student and from whichever corner it is coming to. So without taking your much time, I welcome you once again. And I hope this will be another successful session for all our students and other whoever has joined this. Welcome and over to you, students. I think we can start now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, ma'am.
before going to the talk, we will introduce the speakers briefly for those who are not familiar with their work. Architect Pathik Joshi, graduating from Kamla Raheja Institute of Architecture in 2011, worked in mobile offices. He was involved in projects ranging from educational campus planning, social housing, holiday homes, and office buildings. He has a master's in urban design from the University of Texas, Austin, where he was involved in urban rejuvenation projects, one of which was rejuvenating the Western Dallas. He worked at Humphreys and Partners in Dallas, where he was involved in the designing of over 29 high-rise buildings located in Tier 1 cities of USA. He currently is working as a junior partner in Kalayojan LLP, where he is involved in city master planning, campus designs, architectural and urban design at Kalayojan, which are located in various parts of India and Africa. Having traveled extensively across the world, his designs reflect a deep understanding of different cultures and spaces.
We also have architect Zeel Modi, graduated from Academy of Architecture, Mumbai, being trained directly under principal architect Sanjay Porwal himself. She has been involved in many projects ranging from cooperative office to master planning and institutional campus. She now leads Kalayojan Studio as a single point of contact for most works. She is responsible for the quality that Kalayojan is known for in the industry. Her zest to outperform herself has her deliver out of the box ideas and scale to new heights in her professional life.
Okay, so you may begin.
Welcome, sir.
Thank
You
you.
can share.
Thank you for the
Thank
wonderful
you.
introduction.
Thank you for the introduction.
Ma'am, uh, we all know MSU's contribution to architecture and architectural studies. Um, I think the legacy goes long, long back, like you said. I hope this presentation, of partly of which Zeal is going to present, partly that I'm going to present, brings some insight into how an architectural studio functions. Really, we've tried to really showcase projects that have got some sort of deep conceptual thinking and the process of it. How do we begin and how do we kind of finally how does it shape up? So you try to just put those kind of images there that help students to understand the process. And one thing that I want to add here is that, uh, like you said, that ethics and principles don't change by changing of calendar year, which is very very true and very very important in the practice of architecture. I think without you being true and ethical, you will never produce something that you're proud of and make your country proud rather. So at least at Kalayajan, we really, really try to fight this battle of being very, very ethical, very, very true to our design, because of which so many times we have lost projects, but so be it. Sometimes you have to lose something to achieve something better, but that we really resonate for sure here at Kalayajan.
So we'll make a good team, I suppose.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right,
Great.
let's begin. See.
Yeah. Let me share.
And you guys can interrupt anytime in the middle. Let's just, let's not wait till the very end. You can disturb us in the middle. We can stop, answer those questions. I think it is better organic that way.
Okay.
So, hi everyone. So happy to be here. I'll just briefly introduce Kalayojan. Okay, so Kalayojan is a 31-year plus old firm, founded in 1986, and Sanjay Porwal, architect Sanjay Porwal, is the principal architect, and he's also the founder of the firm. Mm, we have got a good fortune, of the journey spanning from like 3 to 3.5 decades now. So this presentation is primarily, as Pathik also said, that it's going to be like a journey, and we would be taking you along some of the milestone projects that we have. Kalayojan has been involved right from projects ranging from schools and institutions, industrial buildings, public buildings, a lot of competitions that we have won, and few private projects.
Actually, can I add one thing here? The entire
Yeah.
practice is built on participating in architectural competitions. This is something that, as architects, you should be very, very passionate about for a practice like Kalayojan, because most of our large scale projects that we have ended up doing is because we have participated and won in architectural competitions.
Yes.
All right.
This is one of the project which I think Kalavision started with UDRI housing in Sanpada, Navi Mumbai. So the intent is that, how does a sketch? So, architect always brings about a vision to the entire project, and that vision is it's converted, it's depicted from a sketch, from an idea. So if you see this, you can see my cursor, right? Can you see my cursor?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a sketch, of a master plan of this housing. So if you see, the proportion between the built, the recreation spaces that are courtyards and the circulation spaces. So if you see this white, are the built up, are the buildings, the housing, actual housing. The greens are the courtyards, and there is a peripheral and internal road which is connecting all the housing. So the idea is depicted by a sketch.
So in this project, one thing to really note is that the figure ground idea of today. So mind you, this was done in 1986. All right. So the figure ground idea of today is actually inverse. What you see green today becomes the built, and what you see as white today becomes the leftover open spaces. So this was a social housing project done for SIDCO. It was done where a serpentine kind of building weaves around open spaces and you create larger clusters. All right.
Yeah. So going next. So this was one of the buildings that was done in decade one, like 1986, as Patik said. Decade two comes with this is VTU Belgaum. You must have heard it's Visvesvaraya Technological University. This was it was a competition which was won by Kalayogen. This project also won an award, Architect of the Year award.
So in this project, this is basically a campus project where the entire campus, including site development and master planning, was undertaken during the competition stage. I don't know if you have a larger master plan in the next slide, but should I explain the master plan in this slide itself, Zeel?
Yeah. We have this one.
Okay. So here you can see in a lot of campus works that you will see even in this presentation and including this one, we have a clear distinction most of the times for pedestrian and vehicular movement in the campus, within the campus. For us, campus, though every building has to be accessed by vehicles, for us, making a pedestrian friendly campus is paramount. So over here that you can see the entire yellow patch centrally located is completely pedestrian, and it starts right at the entrance. So you see you see at the entrance there is a Y formation which is formed. One of them becomes a yellow patch, which is we call the knowledge corridor, and it ends into the library building at the very end. Zeel, can you point at the library building? Your cursor is not moving.
I think there's a lag.
Okay, no problem. So anyways, you will see in the further slides, correct? That one is
Yes,
that the
yes.
cursor where it is, that's the library building. And you see a peripheral road going around the campus and feeding into every zone. So the campus originally was to be planned for phase one. And the intent was that as the years go by, the campus should be able to grow. So from the center, which is the yellow line, yellow pedestrian walkway, the buildings can get added in the same sector, same zone towards the road. I wish I had the pointer here. Is there a way that I can? No problem. So can you go next?
Yep. So
No, slide hasn't changed. Okay.
okay, now it has changed. Yes.
So see, most of our projects are conceptualized by a sketch. This is the sketch that we had done during the competition stage. of what we thought that the knowledge corridor or the pedestrian walkway towards the library building should be, and what was the vision. So this sketch actually shows that vision, and you can see a small red building at the very fag end of the road or the pedestrian walkway is what the library building is. And in most of the campus designs that we have done, and rather all good campuses around, one of the most important buildings is the library building, because that is something that it signifies learning. So in all our designs, the placement of library building and the architecture of the library building in a campus becomes very, very important. Go next, please.
Yeah.
So the red building that you see in the master plan, in the key plan below, this is how it looks, and the entire knowledge corridor ends at this library building. So the scale is a very humble scale. It is not a towering scale. And it's essentially flanked by a lot of greens around, and a lot of open air reading areas are also designed within this building.
Okay, I've gone to the next slide.
Okay, these are some on the left side. You can see the library building. There is it's an oculus. It's a large cutout within the library building, so you can really experience the natural climate and weather when you're sitting below, or reading a book, and you're not devoid of the climate around. One of the other important aspects in all our designs, that you can see one such example on the right side, which is an administrative building, is we really don't go for LEED certification, and there are 10 other agencies who certify your buildings as green buildings per se. But I have to really recollect a building that we have really gone for certification. We always say that architecture inherently has to be sustainable. It has to, you don't need a certificate to say that. If the local climate is adapted into the building, where you actually don't require air conditioning, where you're letting in people inside, you're letting the natural landscape grow inside the building, your building probably is more sustainable than anything else. That is the kind of architecture, at least what we practice. You can see some of the photographs on the right side. You can actually walk through one of the most important buildings in the campus. This is where the vice chancellor sits of the entire university, and anybody can actually walk through this building. It's one of the main thoroughfares. Next.
Yeah, one second. Now this 1 minute. So
correct. So this is what you can see. Of course, this divides the building into two wings. Sorry, Zil, just let me complete, then you can start. No. This divides the building into two wings. I wish we had a photograph. This is a photograph, I think, of at least 5 to 6 years ago. Now that the tree that you see in the center is so overgrown, it has grown beyond the circular pergola that you see above. It's gone all up. It's all, gone beyond it. But the building gets divided into two wings, the left and the right. And administratively, they can, it's like, the Lutyens Delhi North Block and South Block. So it's easily divided into kind of different sections of administrative working. Zil, you can continue.
Yeah, so I was just pointing out, like, this is how the outside is also, coming inside. Like, even if you see the landscaping and the pathway, going along the building. 1 minute, I've just changed the slide. Please bear with me. I think there's a lag, so it's kind of taking some seconds to change the slide. Okay. So this building, if you can see the sketch, the conceptual sketch, the idea of this was when our team had visited. It stopped.
Priya, sorry.
Oh, it hasn't. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. So if you see the bottom sketch, so when the team visited the site, there was this mountain and like a temple far, and the idea was to frame that into the building. So the same thing, I wish I had a photo very similar to the sketch. But it's this is the photo that we have. But it's like when you enter and you're walking through the building, you can actually see this view there. So this became like a reference point, to design the entire location of the structure.
See, there is a story over here. When during the competition stage, when our team visited the site for the first time, we always try to find a few nuances of the site, around the site, that can guide you and can lead you to the design. This was one of the things that we caught hold of from the site, and it's for us, it was a springing point for design, that something this beautiful as a mountain backdrop with a temple right on top of it should be framed in the campus. So when anybody is walking through the yellow patch that you had, if you remember in the master plan, you will be able to see through the building and see this mountain with the temple above it. So it became a kind of a focus, and that helped us design the master plan. And once the master plan was done, the buildings that came along this path needed to be freed with so that the people can walk through the building to be able to see these this particular mountain and temple. Next.
Yep. Wait a minute. Yeah. So if you see in the key plan, the location of the auditorium building, so the idea was, to also as an architect to introduce colors. It was a very conscious design decision to introduce a yellow color here. So when you are actually walking through the main pedestrian spine road, the entrance of the auditorium wanted to be highlighted, like because auditorium is a place where functions happen. There are a lot of festivals that is happening. There are lectures happening, workshops happening. So when you are going through, only the entrance foyer, if you see, was highlighted with this color.
And also it gives you a nudge. If you see in the master plan, the pedestrian pathway opens up as you move towards the west. It kind of broadens, okay, and more space between buildings is created, which is why the idea was to kind of have an element over there to nudge you to come inside the auditorium rather. Okay, go next. I think this is an extension of an administrative building. Let's not touch this because we'll not finish otherwise. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can I talk about this, Jill?
Yeah, sure.
So now this is very interesting for us to show, and we actually decided to show you guys this because as architects, I think this is what Jinal said, if I'm not wrong, that if you're limited with your vision, you can really never think further, right? In India, this was done by us, I think 15 years ago. This is no, 20 years ago rather. This is the first time we convinced an engineering body that architects are required to design flyovers, and it is not an engineering marvel, but the vision has to be an architectural vision. Of course, structural stability and all of those goes hand in hand, but this is the first time that somebody actually designed the entire flyover, and a structural engineering team kind of jumped, used our designs to kind of make those drawings to execute the project. Now, the challenge in this project was that while convincing the client, which was the Latur municipal body, we were told, all right, we understand, but you see the Shivaji ka statue over there. You go back, sorry.
Yeah, one sec. I've gone back.
It is not gone back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
See
yeah,
that statue. They said that the flyover has to be here, there is an underpass that has to be here, but you can't change the location of the statue and the foundation of the statue. So we said, all right, it is a design problem and we'll try and solve it. So you see that the flyover is turning on the other side because of the statue, because it can't go straight. And the two roads that are going underpass that are going below the statue, at the place where the foundation of the statue is, the road diverts. Go next now. And even the detail, so this is exactly where the foundation of the statue is, and then it again converges back again. So the intent was, if you see the section on the left top side, there is a normal road level, there is an underpass level, and then there is a flyover level. So even designing the entire girder of the flyover and how it is going to stand on the column was sketched and designed by us before the structural engineer could take it up. And this became a project by which we got a lot of different infrastructure projects, and people started understanding and believing that why architects need to really design the infrastructure. Go next. No, it's not going next.
Yeah, it does take,
Okay.
I think, 4 seconds or something to change. There's a lag.
Okay. So this is an interesting project. Unluckily, it's not built, but in architecture, I think we have a lot more unbuilt projects than we have built projects. But this is a beautiful design. We were amongst the finalists, among the top 3 for this campus, but we didn't end up getting the first place, so we didn't end up doing the work. But this is in a place called Mudanhalli in Karnataka, where there were a lot of temples with those, those Dravidian style gopurams. And the site that was given to us was very rocky and very on a very steep slope. So this is one of the central plazas that the pedestrian pathway ends at, is what you can see here. Go next. This is a beautiful sketch. It explains how we have traversed the sloping site, and how have we established relationship between two buildings because of the sloping site. So using that as an advantage. Of course, climate was a concern and is always a concern in all our projects. One of the things that you can see here is the way we have used air circulation methods and the idea of those, architectural idea of an element of a gopuram or a tower, helping us to passively cool the entire campus. Go next. So you can see these, you'll be able to see these gopurams coming up in different places. Yes, you can see it in the master plan. At various places, these things come up, and we have used this. We have made sure that the slope of the site helps us in making sure that everybody gets a view and there is a connection, at least at the terrace level of one of the lower buildings to the ground floor of the other building. And if you see any temple architecture, there is a procession. It's called a procession way. So where the entire procession takes place maybe twice a year, once a year, to the main temple. So for us, that the one that you see hatched in brown is almost like a processional pathway where it's a boulevard going all the way as you keep going towards the center, or the central plaza, of which the view you saw earlier. It keeps going higher and higher and slightly wider and wider as you reach further. So those actually, that view is of the academic buildings. This is where it's the seat of learning. So this is where the major academic buildings are, and administrative buildings happen along the way. Go next. Okay, Zeel, you want to explain this?
Yeah, I'll like to start. So
Yeah.
this is VTU campus, but at Gulbarga. If you see the the master plan was it was not a regular shape. So in the bottom, you can see diagrams. So the making of a master plan, the process where we kind of first have the zones, then we have the just the block layout, like what is the area, then we kind of detail of the building footprint, and then there is a most detailed plan, and the way there are certain edges coming, and the way the library is placed and everything. Can you see my cursor? uh, I wish there was an annotate or something. Okay.
Yeah, I think your cursor is seen. Yeah.
Okay. So, the central, so from the entrance, straight, you can see this view, which is of the library. As explained earlier, also that the library in the entire university programs is a building where, there's learning, and there's sharing of ideas and everything. So it becomes kind of a central, very important building. So from the entrance, you see this kind of view, which you can see like it's like a mouse shape of.
Yeah. Go ahead. So if any of you know the place Gulbarga, Gulbarga is a place in Karnataka with a lot of influence of Islamic architecture. There are a lot of ruins of old temples and old forts and everything dispersed in Gulbarga. Of course, that became a point of making sure that the building is contextual. So this is one of the administrative buildings. I'll come to this. Can you show the next image?
Yeah.
Okay. Over here you can see, this is one of my most loved photograph of the designs that we've done. The central photograph shows you a corridor. This can somebody admit Dhawal Panchal, because that thing is coming in the middle of the screen.
Yes, sir. We are doing means we are.
Can I cancel it? Okay. Uh, so the experience of the entire university, of course, the climate is very, very hot over there. So the architecture of all of these buildings is also curated to take care of this. So you see one of the central photographs on the right side. The building has got two skins. It's got one of the main external walls and another wall maybe 2.5 meters away, which also becomes a corridor. But that entire wall is arched. So the entire architecture that you see is is influenced heavily by Muslim architecture, or is rather all those forts and images that you see in Gulbarga around. Can you go next?
Also, can I add one more point here?
Yeah, of course.
So, when our team visited Gulbarga, if you see the entire city layout or something, all the buildings were, G plus one, G plus two, that kind of a language was prevalent. So here also, what was the idea? Like, if you see the first image, the top image on the right hand side, you could feel so the entire PG block. If you see the plan, जो plan है, वो PG block का plan है. So if you like see on one of the elevations, it seems like there's an entire city. So there's this play of levels. There is the height is not more than G plus two. So that kind of a language was the idea.
It's a cityscape. The elevational idea was of a cityscape, so that there is a lot of play of levels in the campus, and of course the usage of colors, how to accentuate architectural elements within a space. The idea of movement and making movement itself a part of interaction is always explored by us in most of our campuses. This is one of a very nice photograph explaining that how a ramp of course had to be covered, but ramp itself is one of the most important architectural elements that we use. Go next.
It's coming.
So of course, not only walking above the ramp, the entire corridor that I showed you earlier, actually you will walk below the ramp to go into that corridor. Go next.
Yep.
Okay, now we change scales completely. This is one of the bungalow projects that we've done in Nashik. We take these kind of projects very sparsely, I would say. We probably have done 5 to 6 to 7 bungalows till now in the span of 30 years. But each of those is absolutely different and has to show whom we are designing for. Go next. In this project, those of you who know Nashik, Nashik has the river Godavari flowing through it. This particular site was touching Godavari, and the client wanted that when he sits in the living room, he should be able to experience Godavari flowing. So you see on the right side bottom, this is the view from the living room. There is a large glass which is tilted, and if you guys can notice on the compound wall, there is a small rectangular patch on the left side. That entire thing opens up. You can see on the left side sketch that it shows that entire compound wall actually is a sliding gate that opens up, and when it opens up, by sitting in the living room, you will be able to see the Godavari. And you see a small recess on the sloping roof. Go back.
I have gone back. Give me 1 second. Yeah.
So you see a small recess in the sloping roof. That recess is made again. It's at the mid landing level of the staircase. So when you're actually climbing up and you're on the mid landing, if you look towards your right, you can look through the roof and you will also be able to see the Godavari. So the experience of being next to a river, it becomes a springing point in the design and really dictates all of the design decisions rather. Next. Keep going next. Okay. I don't think we're explaining this project, but particular that sketch that you saw was of a Gulbarga, of a project in Bijapur, I'm sorry, of a women's university, Karnataka State Women's University. I don't think we've included that project here, but it's a beautiful sketch explaining the design. Most of it happens in the conceptual stage. Okay, this project again is a administrative building in a larger campus, not designed by us. Various buildings are designed by various different architects in this campus. SNJB college campus in Chandwad. This again was a competition, and in the competition we realized that there are so many buildings in this campus designed by so many different architects that of so many different shapes rather. Something, there was a pyramid, there is a elliptical building, there is a rectangle, square. We realized that unless we use a form that is unifying all these different buildings, the campus really doesn't have a core. So in this particular project, we actually won the design competition because the idea was to design a building that makes the soul of the campus, and which is why we chose a circle as one of the unifying factors, and the entire building is designed that way. Go next. Of course, I don't. Please go next. I don't want to repeat myself by saying that the wind directions and sun directions were also considered here, so that the entire there is a connectivity of courtyards within that. So you see this arrow that goes. There is one courtyard to the other. It's connected in the direction of the wind. So when you actually stand in one of these courtyards, the wind actually rushes through the entire building. Go next. This is a photograph that we generally put because we love, when we visited very recently. This is how the central courtyard space should be used, and lot of their uh, real academic lectures are also happen here. So in most of our public building projects where it is about university or learning, we really try to create these kind of spaces where design stops and the humans take over. Go next. Okay. Again, we jump scales. This is one of the master planning project. We were commissioned to master plan the city of Uyo. It's a very odd name. It's called UYO, Uyo, in Nigeria. It is a capital of a state which is probably one third the size of Maharashtra, and a city with a population of 4 lakh people. That's it. That's probably one suburb of any of our towns. Uh, Now in this city, we were supposed to plan it for the next 30 years, which is till 2040. And we are going to really show very briefly here because we can't go into detail. But the idea over here was to not completely change the core of the city. Go back, Zeel. Not to change the core of the city because the city in itself was very organic, but rather create sub-cities or sub-sectors. You see these 6 yellow patches on the edge of the city is what is proposed. Currently over there, it's absolutely green field, very sparsely populated. So you can have concentrated pockets of development, and the entire city has to be uh, um, surrounded by greens. So the diameter circle that you see is not an ad hoc circle that is drawn, but a legitimate circle drawn with which protects the city growing beyond that point. So the green that you see here are almost like fingers going within these 6 sub-cities and are not supposed to be touched. Go next. So of course, these are one of the main arterial roads, and I don't want to go into the detail of it, but a lot of different new roads were planned, and how the new connectivity to the airport would be established and all of that. I don't want to go into this detail. Go next. No, I already explained this. Next. Okay, with the planning, what you saw earlier was the master plan, almost like a DP plan where the land use plan or where the use of the land is allocated or is decided. In this particular drawing, you can see the FSI or the floor space index of the development. So along the main arterial roads, larger development possibilities were given, and as you go away from the main roads, the idea was to keep it more green and less dense. Go next. Okay, within this city, there were many things planned, like a few public plazas, a couple of iconic structures right in the middle of the city, and a couple of residential and industrial districts. So, of course, the buildings were not planned in this, though we did eventually end up designing and making one of the most iconic buildings that Kalayogen has ever done in this particular city. But all other residential areas were planned at a master planning level. Go next. This is one of the central plazas, one of the most important. It's almost like all the main roads of the city are converging onto this point. Go next. Some iconic towers signifying the state and the country. And of course, this has a brief in itself, but I want to really go to the larger presentation. These were some of the residential districts that we designed. In this, our job was to make sure that land is allocated equitably to social housing, residential housing, public buildings, and how different modes of public transports are integrated within the residential clusters. Go next. So like I said, this is one of the detail where a road section is also developed of what is the total width of the road. And so the intent of this entire exercise was to make sure to have a plan ready for the next 30 years. So this, you may not see the entire thing today, but over the years, this is how this entire precinct should be developed. All the yellow that you see is of course residential. The arterial, one of the most important arterial roads cuts across the site in this that leads you to the airport of the city. Go next. All the major institutions are along that road. Now this is an industrial district, again designed similarly. Let's not go into this detail. Go next.
Yes.
Okay.
So
okay. I think Zeel, you can explain this.
yeah. So some of our recent projects. This is bungee jumping tower. It's an extreme adventure sports facility. So the client, we have also similarly made bungee jumping facility in Rishikesh, and client had approached us again for making it in Goa. So right from the site, which site to be chosen, where can you find with respect to the soil stability, with respect to the view, with respect to all the other tourism related things we were involved. So one second. Next slide. Yeah. So if you can see the right side, it's a site plan. The project involved, we making the bungee jumping tower with the ancillary facility, with which involved merchandising and ticketing and waiting area and food and cafe area and everything. So this, if you see, the bungee tower is nearly at the edge of one of the hillocks here, and Mayam Lake in Goa. So it is abutting the Mayam Lake, such that you can view the nature and lake while jumping. What we proposed was that the trail that you can see, the natural trail, which is actually it is within the forest and within the foliage of trees, and which leads you, so you enter from this block, you do your ticketing and other necessary things, then you actually start your journey right from the natural trail, preparing you to the adventure right from there.
This was one of the tightest sites that we were given. For the tower, we were told. So earlier, when we made it in Rishikesh, it was easy because you were supposed to jump in Ganga. So there was a height, there was an elevation that was already existing. In Goa, the elevation was not existing. Zil, can you go back? So we had to make a tower. For the tower, we were given a site of 6 meters by 6 meters. In that tight site, we were supposed to construct a tower cantilevering with a cantilevering platform of around 20-22 meters, which was a real challenge because a tower had to have lifts, had to have staircase, had to have other utilities within this space. Go next. So you see, this is one of the plans of the tower. The hatched area is the 6 meters by 6 meters. Everything that you see otherwise on the right and the left are cantilever. And the tower itself has got a staircase in the top, two lifts at the bottom, and flanked by two ducts on the side. That's all there is, and there is a central corridor. This, of course, this project had its own, challenges. There was no lift that was really there was no lift company rather who was accepting to be a part of this project, because the structural engineer designed this tower in a way that it allowed oscillation of the tower, not vibration but oscillation. So when you will go in the lift, the entire tower, you will feel the entire tower swaying. And because of this, there was no lift vendor that allowed or was wanting to put their lift into the tower. So finally, that the lift that is put in this tower is they have actually designed the lift only for this tower. So the kind of guide rails and everything that they have used is specifically for this tower to take care of the oscillation. Not to say that you will not feel the oscillation. So whenever you guys go to Goa, you should go here because you will feel the oscillation. Before you jump, you will feel the tower swaying.
Also, one more challenge in this project was is my voice echoing?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, now. Uh, hello.
It's still echoing. Connected from two different systems.
Okay. Pati, can you go forward until I just resolve these?
I don't think I can go forward. I can't change the slide.
Okay. No. I wanted to explain about the difficulty in accessing the site.
Construction,
It's not echoing now. The voice is not the last sentence.
Good.
Did
No.
no problem.
Good, it's not.
We'll just do the presentation. Go to the presentation mode. I can explain the construction difficulties.
I am. Can you see my screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. In this project, another difficulty was because it was at the edge of the lake. We had a lot of. We had to be very, very careful about the biodiversity that we are hampering. So the entire tower was actually made elsewhere, and the tower is made with a module grid of 6 meters by 6 meters with a height of 6 meters. It was made somewhere else. The entire module was got here and placed like a tetra blocks one on top of each other and welded and with rivets on site. So we had to be very, very careful that no construction activity really took place on site.
Yeah. Also, one more thing, as an architect, when it comes to concrete structure, there's a very different kind of proportion that we are involved in. Like when it came to a structure like this, which is maximum steel. If someone sees the structure, it is like it's definitely there's a lot of structural consultant involvement, but a very conscious design thought was given on the module, on the proportions of each of the members which are coming.
Yeah.
I'm just going next.
I don't think it's moving.
It does, it just takes time.
Going next.
There are a lot of color combinations which were tried. So, this was one of them, being in white, and then we zeroed on in the. Okay. Coming.
Okay, can I ask how much time we have?
We have 10 minutes for 5 left.
Sorry, we have 10 minutes.
Yes, 10 minutes left for 5.
Okay. Okay, Zeel, continue.
Okay. So now this is a very different scale and program, corporate office. So this is a mixed use. This is corporate office and a factory at the ground floor. I changed the slide. Why is it not coming?
I think you missed a slide.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fine. Yes. So this site is located in Nasik, in an industrial area. One of the key things about the site was that, I think 20 years, before also, Kalayogen had only designed this building. And after, so it's maybe in 1997, we designed the building, and the client came back to us to design the new building. He had more requirements. Their work had expanded, and so
And they
this is how
wanted
it
an
looked
office,
before.
a large office. Essentially, originally it was a factory with a small office and the space for chairman and everything. But now they had expanded and they had grown in their business. So now they wanted a large office space along with the factory.
Yeah. So I'm going to run a small GIF.
Before you run the GIF, this project was a very big challenge to us because the only brief that the client gave us is that my factory shouldn't stop even a single day. Even when you make the building and make the factory working cannot stop. The factory actually works. It's a chromium. It's a chrome plating factory. So we were supposed to face the design and the building in a way that because of construction, the factory work cannot stop. So this is the phasing aspect of the project. Instead of explaining, we have made a small GIF that you will see now.
So this was the kind of
Phasing.
Right.
So first we demolished the building, added a factory floor. We added another floor, moved the chairman, removed a part of the building, made the new building. Of course, sun considerations and climatic considerations were taken. Terraces were added, sun cutters as louvers were added as a secondary facade. And that is what you see.
Yeah. So just quickly running through, the ground floor had the factory. So there were two entrances planned. One entrance just catering to the factory, unloading, loading. The other entrance was for the executives, the officers, and the directors of the company. The entrance was...
No, next. Go next. Yeah. These are some of the pictures of the interiors. Let's not go into a lot of details over here. Go next. Some of the terraces that you saw in the 3D, you will see some real pictures here of the spaces. Like you see in most of our projects, even colors are used even in a project like this. Next.
So we actually really tried a lot of color combinations. And one thing I must tell you that, when we kind of, work on 3Ds and SketchUp and, sitting in the office, it's very different from actual site. So when you actually go to the site, there's a very different experience. So even the color or the look of it was very well appreciated with the surroundings. So a gray palette on which there's this steel cross section vertical fins and a pop of red, which actually made the building having a commercial look. At the same time, it is refreshing.
Go next.
Yeah. Also, principally what, there were a lot of trees on site, and this was one of the way, if you see, at the entrance gate, the trees were accommodated in the compound wall in such a way that, we coexist. Okay, these are some of the interior views.
Okay, next.
एक minute.
Let's go to the International Christian Worship Center straight.
Okay.
You can run through. This is a wayside amenities project in Delhi, mainly for trucking. Okay, now I wanted to not show you that project because I wanted to spend, even if it is 2 minutes, 2 more minutes on this particular project. This is the International Christian Worship Center in Uyo city, the city that of which the master plan also we did in Nigeria. This project is one of the largest projects that Kalayogen has done till date. It was a collaborative effort, of course, of around 60, 70 people working together for 2 years on non-stop. Can you go next? Of course, this was also a competition. So this project actually started with a single line brief from our client saying that we want a 10,000 sitting capacity church and it has to be better than the Temple of Solomon in Brazil. Temple of Solomon in Brazil looks like what you see there. And finally our design does not at all go with what you see there. But this is the brief that we got from the client. Go next. So originally we had designed two different options. Of course, both the options had to accommodate 10,000 people. Just to give you a little bit of scale, the Lotus Temple in Delhi accommodates around 4,500 people when it's full. So this entire space should accommodate 10,000 people. So of course, volumetrically it was huge, but we had designed two options, one a curvilinear option and the other option a much more geometric option. Go next. Why can I see only half the plan? Huh.
Okay,
Okay.
nice.
This is one of the options that we did as option one. Again, it went away. Huh. This was a large pyramid under which there was a dome. The dome actually housed 10,000 people in one go. This option was not selected by the client. The client selected the other option, which is now under construction. Can you go to the other option, Zeel?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the option one. It's a very large pyramid with a dome that glows inside. Okay. Now this option actually started from this simple sketch that you see. This sketch signifies everything for us in design. So whatever you're going to see further is germinated from this sketch. Now the idea was that this is a church. So first we need to now go back. So first we need to understand that we needed natural light within the building. So you see the left side, you see a tower above the altar or the stage where the priest is going to stand. And we intended that there is a lot of natural light that falls above him, on him when he is speaking, creating a mystical environment behind. You see the hump in the center. That hump is to accommodate two levels of seatings for 10,000 people. And what you see on the right is an overpowering entrance which really welcomes you, one. And second, you're thrown into a very tight space, tight entrance before you enter the large auditorium inside. So this one single sketch really signifies the essence of the design. Go next. Of course, designing church has its own architectural principles. Originally, the way churches were designed, it always had a typical shape of a cross in plan, and it was hierarchical even in section. We have not changed really the original designing principles of the church in this particular option. The intent was to only make it slightly more curvilinear. Next. Like I said, there is a lot of natural light that is allowed to filter inside to the altar. Keep going next. Now, the difference between a church and an auditorium, we realized in the process of designing this that because of the sitting of 10,000 people, we had forgotten that this was not supposed to be an auditorium. And the difference between an auditorium and a church was that in an auditorium, you actually cut off natural light coming inside, but in a church, you actually welcome the natural light as much as you can get. So you see, in the long section, there were a lot of different skylights left on the top so that the natural light can come inside. Even in the short section that you probably will see further. Go next. I'll come to this view angles and all that. Go next. Go to the short section where, yes. So even from the short section, you can see the natural light is allowed from the edges. Keep going. This was the plan of the building in the competition stage when it was a sketch. The intent was that this is a very large building should be placed on a very shallow water body so that the entire building is reflected down, and it had got a very large podium with a lot of landscape and sitting around it. So tranquility should come even before you enter into the building. Go next. This was one of the views that you will see in the night, and everything that you see in glass is so that you get ample natural light into the main auditorium space in the day. Go next. Okay, this is the site that was given to us. I think a couple of slides are self-explanatory where the main entrance is and everything. You can see a very faded image of the actual ground, and you can see the retaining wall already made. You will see some under construction photographs further, but there were essentially three entrances: the north, south, and the ceremonial entrance. Go next. The west entry was the ceremonial entrance. Go next. The VIP and the vehicular entry for VIP was from behind. Service entry was from behind. Go next. So you see the service entry, there is a large area left for services. There are two large parking zones and the ceremonial entry on the west side. Go next. So the building has a pad to sit on. That pad is in the shape of a cross. Go next.
Now we come to programmatic zoning.
Yeah. You can explain this.
One sec. Yeah.
Are we showing the plans? Yeah, this first. Okay.
Yeah, this first.
So this is the area below the canopy. Yeah, sorry, you can continue.
Yeah, so this is a seating area, the hump, where the hump comes. And there's this, yeah, the waiting lobby, which takes you to the seating. Okay. Then it actually goes on both the sides of the seating area. Then you see the red blocks, the dark red blocks. These are the staircases and the lift blocks, basically the core. The purple block that you see is the VIP block and the choir area. The light blue that you see is the administration block, and there were small church and chapels also included in the large complex.
There were two churches and two chapels. Include in generally in very large cathedrals, you have these small enclaves of churches and chapels for private events.
Yeah. The brown shows the balcony seating. There was
Original seating planned, and now what is being made is a single level of seating, single level of balcony rather.
okay, the in pink that you see is the reddish pink. You see that's the corridor just going around. Then there were toilet blocks. A very interesting part of actually, the way this programmatic, diagrams are seen. But a very interesting part was that because of the curvature of the structure on both the sides, some of the spaces were, getting redundant as you go up. So there were a lot of plays and there are a lot of level differences also when, we had to plan. Also, I think this project, it was, the entire team was BIM enabled. A lot of different softwares like Rhino, Revit were used to have it possible. Like if you see this, this is a longitudinal section. And showing the heights. So from 69-meter height of the tower to 40-meter of the main hall to 28 meters of the canopy.
Go next.
Yeah.
So, like you've seen till now, the entire building is there is not a single straight wall per se. We've made plans to show if you go from the bottom, the lowermost plan to the topmost plan, how it changes and what you can see. So you keep going next, Seal.
Yeah.
So what you see hatched is the floor plan for which it is made. That's how it keeps increasing in height. Keep going.
Really bear with me with the lag, actually.
So you see the roof starts to come when you reach the atrium level. Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Finish it.
Yeah, it's finished.
Okay. This is all right. Next.
Coming to structural steel framework.
So one second, Sil. Before we come to this building is a composite building. So part of it is concrete, part of it is steel. What is steel will be shown here. There are very large spans that are supposed to be achieved without any columns in the middle, which is why steel frames were used. Zil, go next and explain.
Yeah. So starting from the tower. So portals along the curvature of the building help the
So
no.
help the look also and help the structural support also, because the design was such that we didn't want any structural elements which are obtrusive to the design, which negated the entire flow of the building. So the engineers planned the trusses in a way. Every single truss that you see here in red is different in terms of its shape and in terms of its sizing. But they were planned in a way so that the spaces that the way the architecturally the building is designed, the structure becomes a part of that design and it's not an additional element put. Keep going. On the facade, there was a material called VM zinc. It was essentially a metal sheeting with zinc as one of the primary materials that is expected to be cladded on this entire building. And I'm not going to go into the properties of those metal sheeting, but of course it has got a lot of absorption possibilities, which is why it was chosen. Next. 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 These are some views of the entrance. Next.
Okay, there's a video.
Okay. I think there is an explanation, good explanation in this video. So, yeah. Just let us know if you can hear things in it. Zeel, what is the problem?
I think this is hung.
So do you have the video independently saved? Just click on that instead of the PPT.
No, I think now it's playing.
Ma'am. Hello, am I audible to you, ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, before you present a video, you need to include a system audio to share the audio. So you need to reshare the screen again.
Okay. So if I do stop sharing.
Yes, and you can do again share, and there is an option called include system audio.
Okay, it will ask you. Zeel, it will ask you whether you want to share the video. Say yes, share the computer video. Audio, sorry.
Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yes. I don't know. Some of you will have to tell us if you can hear the audio.
Can you hear the audio?
I can't hear the audio.
No, the audio is not audible.
Okay, I think Zeel, just instead of the PPT, can you just show the video directly? Just double click and share that, no? No, I don't think so. The audio is seen. I mean, it's heard. Okay. I think Zeel, just show the internal and external, that 1 minute video that we have. We don't need audio in that. It's all right. Let's not waste more time. Zeel, you're here.
Yeah, but you cannot see the video.
No, you've not shared the screen.
Okay, I'll share the screen.
Internal, external combined video that we have. We don't need audio in that, so it's okay. You let us know when you share the screen because we can't see any screen shared.
Okay, now you can see the screen share.
Yes,
Yeah.
the presentation we can see. Can you guys see the video or is it lagging?
It's lagging.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. So the buildings that you see around are not ad hoc. They are real scale buildings. So you would have gotten an idea of the scale of this building to what is around. And now you're going up the tower. The tower is almost 20 story tall. It's 69 meters. So it's almost like a 22 storied building. Okay, do we have some under construction photographs?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have.
Go to the slideshow, please.
Yeah, it's already there. It just take a few seconds. Yeah. Can you see it? No.
Okay. So this
Now.
project is now under construction, or you can, it's probably 20-30% done. Go next.
Have gone, huh?
So what you see on the left side is that tower that is going to go up. So probably 20-30% of the height of the tower is already achieved. So even if so the intent of showing this particular project was also that even a project of this scale started from a single sketch of that of the section, the long section that you saw. And I think we are ending the presentation. I would like to end the presentation on a poem that is written by our founder Sanjay Porwal. Go next. Go to the poem page. It's a very beautiful poem written by him in context of being an architect. Here it goes. It's in Hindi. ठहरा हूँ कब से इस मकाम पर, चलूँ अब आगे, देखे यहाँ के मंजर सारे, देखूं मंजर ख्वाब आगे, नापू घर हौसलों की सरहदें तो मुमकिन नहीं, जितना चलता हूँ उस जानिब उतनी दौड़ती है आगे, वही नक्श वही मकान वही लोगों को बांटते हुए कमरे, सोचता हूँ बनाऊं कोई घर बिन दीवारों और डर के आगे. So I think this is it. We've tried to be brief. I hope it was at least insightful in the processes that we follow in different projects. One of you guys should send us the address of your university and the name of your librarian we would like to send a copy of the book that we have released and published. It has been sent to most of the colleges in Maharashtra, but I would like to your college also to have a copy of this book. It is essentially a journey of Kalayojan's architecture over the 30 years. I'll send it to you to keep it in the library, and there's no charge on it because we give architectural colleges just like that. So one of you please give the details to Z, please.
Sure, sir. We'll send you that.
Yeah.
You need an email address.
No, we need the number, name of the librarian, and the address on which it is to be couriered. It's a physical book.
Okay.
We thank you both of you for your spending your time and showing us your work. The scales of the projects that you worked on while being sensitive to the basics, it was really very inspiring.
Can I just come in for a minute?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, Architect Pathik and Zeel. It was, let me tell you, it was sheer delight to be in the presentation. And thanks for sharing your architectural journey, glimpse of your architectural journey. I'm sure there must be much more. And I believe that our lives are is a patchwork of a series of little miracles. And this presentation proved to be one of the miracle for all of us. So thank you once again. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
It was an honor, and we generally hope that we actually published this book with an idea that architectural colleges should have a book that not only is a profile book for any office, but it's an architectural journey that inspires other people to have this kind of a journey. So if you really see the book when it reaches